Hello, NBC.
And I'm Michelle.
Welcome to part 2 of Cecily Neville.
Yes.
And I'm not going to bother doing the lives in the Tudor era, because if you haven't listened to part 1, which we did that,
go
back and listen to
some
that.
of this will make no sense. Oh, I can't even talk this morning. Yeah. It's still dark out. It's 7 a.m. and it's dark.
That's quite nice, that, I think.
Really?
Watching the seasons change.
Oh, yeah, I love the fall. It's the time change is coming is what I worry about. Yeah. Why do we do that? We don't need to do that anymore.
Right. Last week we heard about how quite a few people were putting around the idea that Cecily Neville was no better than she should be. Mainly her sons, it has to be said.
Yes.
Yes.
How rude. I wonder if they went to her first and said, Mummy, I'm going to say a few things. Can you please not, kill me? Miss Haughty?
Yes. Could you just not talk to anybody or read anything or
ever
just for the
again?
next years?
Please don't.
Edward's illegitimacy. Warwick and Louis put it about that Edward had no right to be on the throne because he wasn't Richard, Duke of York's son. This is Louis the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Cecily denied it in her last will, and you don't tend to lie as you approach death. At least we assume you don't. I mean, ideally you wouldn't.
Well, she could still lie to everybody else and just not lie to her confessor. He wouldn't rat out on her.
Hmm. The story was that Cecily had had an affair with an archer called Blabourne, and this story seemed to be put about by Warwick, and certainly wasn't current when Richard, Duke of York, was alive. He happily accepted Edward as his son. The only evidence for the accusation that Warwick was pushing the story is in a letter sent by the Milanese ambassador back to Galeazzo Maria Sforza, which is quite a worry because we know that the Milanese ambassadors are never wrong. He said that if Edward were not legitimate, Warwick had said that George, Duke of Clarence, should be king.
Okay.
Which is what would happen anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why Warwick is saying, I'll make you king. Don't you worry, my boy, I'll make you king. Hang on, I am king if he's not legitimate.
You can't make me king if I am king.
Yes. Stop building yourself up. But it seems that the ambassador must have got this from Louis the 11th. Is this an example of Louis stirring?
The pot.
He wasn't averse to a bit of stirring.
No, he loved a bit of stirring.
If so, it was to have far-reaching consequences for when Cecily's son Richard wanted the throne. We know from letters from Louis to Philip the Good that he hadn't recognised Edward and still saw Henry VI as a true king. And it seems from a pro-Yorkist poem written in 1460 that the illegitimacy slur might already have been current in France, predating Warwick's split with Edward. Since the poem particularly stresses his legitimacy, and you don't stress legitimacy unless it's been questioned.
You don't say, he's not a bastard. He's not a bastard. I swear he's not a bastard.
No, really, truly, he's not. Well, I'm not.
Where'd you get that idea? It's not me.
Later, Charles the Bold, who was annoyed with Edward for making a treaty with the French, shouted out that Edward's real name was Blabourne and he was the son of an archer.
Ooh, them's fighting words.
But that's not something that seemed to bother him when he agreed to marry Margaret of Burgundy.
Ah, true. But she wasn't the son of...
No, she wasn't. But I suppose he might be thinking, well, if Edward goes down, will the whole family go down? But,
Yes, but then he didn't do any of the things he said he would, like help them.
No.
I won't even be here when you arrive. No. I'll be way off over here fighting a different battle that you have no stake in whatsoever. I know we planned this, but this is now more important to me.
He's not the only one to do that.
No.
This was reported by Philippe de Comines, who was working for Charles at the time, but didn't actually like him. Other times, Comines accepted Edward as legitimate, so, it depends who you're trying to suck up to as to what you decide you're going to believe, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In England, the story only appears in the parliamentary records and presumably wasn't allowed to spread any further.
What? So it shows up in the parliamentary records that, people can read?
Well, who would have read it then?
It's not going to go anywhere, I swear. Nobody's interested in what we're doing as the government. There aren't people like that, Erasmus.
Well, Erasmus must have kept stum because what was said in Parliament stayed in Parliament.
Well, Erasmus was also much later, but for how interested we are, there's got to be people at the time who were interested. There has to be.
I don't know, because it's not as if the government were doing things which was affecting every moment of your life like we have now. There's broad brushstrokes then, wasn't it? It's taxation and taxation for war, specifically.
And whether or not somebody's a bastard.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Milanese ambassador's reading it.
Yeah. Yeah, or they're reading it, yes.
Yeah.
They did their homework.
Going everywhere.
It was reported that George had said, quote, that the king, our sovereign lord, was a bastard and not begotten to reign upon us, unquote. You know, the king, our sovereign lord, my brother, my loving brother. We also hear in 1483 a report by Domenico Mancini that Cecily was so infuriated by Edward's marriage to Elizabeth Woodville that she offered to make a public statement that Edward was not Richard, the Duke of York's son. However, Mancini was working for the French government, and so it's probably Louis stirring again.
Yes.
Doesn't seem likely to be true. I don't think it sounds true. Why should anyone care what I think? But I don't think it sounds true.
No.
Especially, as we said, given how strenuously Cecily denied these claims.
And yet, sometimes, if they're denied too much, we say, he doth protest too much.
Smoke without fire.
Mm-hmm.
But it's strange that when the plan of Warwick and George was just to get rid of the Woodvilles and return George to his rightful place as heir, there was no mention of Edward's illegitimacy. Once they changed their plan to get rid of Edward and make George king, and more importantly for Warwick, his daughter Isabel queen, suddenly the whole bastardy thing reared its ugly head.
Yeah.
Then, as we know, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, resurrected this story. And much later, Polydore Virgil wrote, quote, being blind with covetousness of reigning, had secret conference with one Ralph Shah, a divine of great reputation, to whom he uttered that his father's inheritance ought to descend to him by right, as the eldest of all the sons which Richard, his father, Duke of York, had begotten of Cecily his wife, for as much as it was manifest enough that Edward, who had before reigned, was a bastard, praying that Shah to instruct the people thereof in a sermon at Powell's Cross, unquote.
Please discuss this, because you're a godly man.
Yes.
Wow. I love their run-on sentences.
Oh, certainly, yes. But there's a lot of ... so some bits were missed out of that sentence.
Oh, jeez.
Now, I thought Ralph Shah had proclaimed the news that Edward's sons were illegitimate rather than Edward was.
Oh,
but maybe he did a 2 for the price of 1 offer.
Not only, double down.
Yes. And another thing.
Yeah.
Some historians have agreed with the claim of Edward's illegitimacy, since they've worked out that Richard, Duke of York, wasn't with Cecily at the time when Edward would have been conceived. However, Edward's date of birth was recorded only in the annals of William Worcester. And if you remember William Worcester, he was the man who worked for Fastolf and was prepared to back John Paston in his claim for Caister Castle. But Paston blew it all by making accusations against him and generally falling out with everyone.
Everybody.
He was saying, yeah, it's fine, John. If you said that, that's fine. I'm on your side. And he just messed it up. Anyway, Worcester made a mistake putting Edward's birth as Monday, 28th April, 1442. 28th April, 1442 wasn't a Monday, it was a Saturday. And this seems like a small matter, but other historians have said that if he could make a mistake on the day, could he make a mistake on the month?
Could he make a full mistake on everything?
Could he just have made it up? Later in the text, he puts a different date, 27th of April. It all sounds a bit tenuous to me. The historian who was pushing for Edward's illegitimacy also claimed that Cecily liked archers because she liked tall men and Richard was too short.
But didn't we say earlier that we weren't sure of Edward's birthday?
Yeah.
They didn't record it, so how could they backdate it from an unknown date?
I don't know. And in our last episode, you said about, was Richard short? And I said, there's somewhere I remember hearing that he was short.
Yeah.
And yet, no, apparently Cecily liked tall men and she was too short. Unless there's an actual document in Cecily's hand saying, I like tall men, I think that's quite an irresponsible thing to put in a history book.
Yeah, and just because you like tall men doesn't mean you end up with tall men, and it doesn't mean that your children are the same height. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was 5'11".
Mm-mm.
Not a single one of his other brothers were under 6'1".
Right.
He was the short stuff of the family. And it passed down because I'm itty-bitty.
Well, presumably, I mean, what was Edward was 6'4" or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And the others weren't. Well, certainly
Yeah.
Richard, but then his scoliosis probably meant
Brought
he
him
didn't
down
grow
a few
very
inches.
tall. But presumably they're thinking, oh, you don't look like your brothers, do you?
There's always that. I don't look like my family either. I'm the milkman's daughter, apparently.
What do people do now? You don't get milkmen anymore, do you?
No.
Who do people have affairs with?
When I was called the milkman's daughter. I don't know.
To add to Cecily's woes, in 1469 her good friend Jacquetta of Luxembourg was accused of witchcraft. All Cecily's friends seemed to end up being accused of witchcraft. Her husband, Earl Rivers, had been executed by Warwick, and now it was Warwick who was making the accusation against her.
Bitter old man.
Yeah. Well, Cecily and Jacquetta were much the same age.
Yes,
and they were
that's
both high-ranking ladies. They both loved literature.
Weren't they friends?
I think so. Well, Jacquetta was the godmother of Cecily's daughter, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So it might be assumed they were reasonably close.
Yes, before Jacquetta married herself down in the pecking order.
I'm not sure. Yeah. It was alleged that at her home was found a, quote, image of lead made like a man of arms, containing the length of a man's finger
Ew.
and broken in the middle, and made
Ew.
fast with a wire, unquote. So damning evidence. And when I read that, I assumed it means the length of a man's finger, you know, that length.
Right.
But containing the length of a man's finger, I think it still means that, actually. I don't think it's got a finger in it.
No.
It's the length of the finger. It wasn't helped that Edward then had to flee the country when Henry VI retook the throne for a brief time, so was not in a position to help her. Once he came back, the charges were dropped. But it must have been quite hard for Cecily. Warwick was her nephew, and he was causing trouble for all her friends and family.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know what she thought.
Nope. I just think if she was that haughty, she would be livid. All of this would be bad.
There's no wonder that Warwick keeps running off to France. He's probably terrified of Cecily. He lights the blue touch paper and then scuttles away quickly. It must also have been hard for her that first George had to flee the country and then Edward and Richard. She must have felt quite abandoned. I mean, any one time, at least one of her children seemed to be running away.
Yeah. From each other, though. Goodness.
But it now turns out that Cecily and her daughters, Elizabeth, who was married to John de la Pole, and Anne, who had married horrid Henry Holland, were taking active steps to bring George back into the fold. As we heard, George had painted himself into a corner. I mean, he was...
Yeah.
Warwick had now decided to align with Margaret of Anjou and had married his other daughter, Anne, to Margaret's awful son, Edward. And where did this leave George? He went to sleep one night as a Yorkist and woke up the following morning as a Lancastrian. And he was still no nearer the throne. And as we heard last week, he told his mum, I didn't want to get involved.
Yeah, it wasn't me, Mum.
Yes, tear-stained letters being sent back to Mummy. Like a little boy at
fix
boarding
this,
school.
Mum. Can't you do anything for me?
Come and get me, Mummy.
I wonder if he shouted out Mummy when he was being shoved in a vat of marmsey.
We'll come to that. Oh. Again, we have Philippe de Comines for a rather gossipy record of what happened. He records a conversation that he had with Lord Wenlock, who was a diplomat, much admired for being clever, which I think means devious.
Yes.
He's now known as the Prince of Turncoats.
Oh.
But at that particular moment, he was on Warwick's side. A woman passed through Calais on her way to see Anne Neville, George's wife, and she told Wenlock, "Don't worry, I'll make sure George is fully on board with Warwick's plan." But she was tricking him. She had out-clevered the clever diplomat. She had actually been sent by Cecily and her daughters to persuade George to come back to Edward's side, and to point out to George what a mess he had got himself into and tell him to stop being a pillock. We don't know who this woman was, but it seems that Cecily deliberately chose to send a woman on this mission because she wouldn't be suspected. It would seem perfectly natural that she'd go and see Anne Neville, and no one would question her motives. It worked, and George did return to the fold for a while, but he was in a difficult position since he was married to Warwick's daughter. So once he'd abandoned Warwick, he's still married to a daughter, his daughter.
How awkward.
He now set about trying to reconcile Edward and Warwick.
Good luck.
In April 1471, Edward was back and Henry VI was in the Tower. Edward scooped up his wife and children from sanctuary and then went straight to his mum's place at Baynard Castle.
Hi, Mummy.
I'm home. I brought me washing. It must have been quite gratifying for Cecily that for once, all her boys were fighting on the same side at the Battle of Barnet. I mean, they're still fighting.
Yes,
they're
but
still
at least
going off to war.
At least there's a chance of one of them, like all of them, surviving rather than two of them killing each other.
Well, on this occasion, the Earl of Warwick was killed, and his body was put on view in St Paul's Cathedral, not far from Baynard's Castle. So I wonder if Cecily popped down for a peep. And again, how did she feel? On the one hand, a thorn in her family's side had been removed, but he was her nephew.
Yeah. But maybe he just ticked her off to the point where she didn't care.
Get him!
God.
Yeah, she went down just to check it was him and that he was actually dead.
Are you sure you're dead, Poke? Yes, you're dead.
Edward must have been grateful to his mum for intervening with George, since she was back on the praying list. Because you remember last week, she fell off the praying list whenever she did something bad. Edward gave her the patronage of a hospital in Lechlade in Gloucestershire, where she was to build a chantry and employ priests to pray for Edward, Elizabeth and Cecily.
Of course, it's a hospital, not a church.
Well, I'm not sure if George was on the list.
Instead.
I don't think it reflects very well on Edward that he grants or withholds his prayer depending on whether Cecily toes the line.
No, it doesn't. Yes. Now, Mother, here's the deal.
I'm annoyed with you now, so you're going to hell.
That's why she started the chantry. He's never gonna save me.
Well, she would also pay John Twinhoe to build a second chantry on the site. And we've come across the name Twinhoe before.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we'll come across the rest of his family soon. George and Richard. If Cecily thought that all three of her boys could live now as one big happy family, she would have been mistaken. Since it was now about to kick off between George and Richard. It's always George and somebody.
Yes, George is the instigator.
Yes. George was fed up. He was always fed up, but this time it was because while Elizabeth Woodville had been in sanctuary, she had given birth to a healthy little boy. And that was the last thing that George wanted, since it pushed him down the line of accession.
Yes.
He had some compensation. He was married to Isabel Neville, and her dad had just died. She was now very rich. The trouble was it was divided between her and her sister Anne. Anne's husband, the awful Prince Edward, had died in battle, or been executed soon after, or was murdered according to his gravestone, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So she was back in the marriage market. And who should have been wandering around this marriage market but George's little brother, Richard?
I feel like he's a little pig sniffing around.
Yes.
There's the money.
Yes, truffle hunting. Initially, George seemed to be quite happy to let Richard marry Anne, but someone must have explained to him the ramifications of it all, and he tried to keep Richard away from Anne by disguising her as a kitchen maid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds very much... Who was it? One of the really early Edwards, Rex Factor, talked about how the man who married the woman that the king wanted tried to get her to dress down, and she refused. She got herself all dolled up, and her husband mysteriously died.
Yeah, I think he was saying, try and make yourself a bit ugly, would you?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, you know what the king's like.
If you don't have a wart, acquire one quickly.
Yes. Again, we have the ambassador writing to the Duke of Milan to thank for information about this George and Richard thing. Quote, the Duke of Gloucester, who by force has taken as his wife the daughter of the late Earl of Warwick, who was married to the Prince of Wales, has been constantly preparing for war against the Duke of Clarence. To the latter, in order to retain him, his brother, King Edward, promised the earldom of Warwick. He did not want the other brother to possess it by chance of his marriage to the said daughter of that late Earl, unquote. Well, why did Edward not want Richard to become Earl of Warwick? Out of the two brothers, one had always been faithful to him, and one definitely hadn't.
Yeah.
So given the choice, I know which I'd go for. And presumably it was to stop George from rebelling again. It's a bit like a prodigal son. He's probably trying to explain to Richard, yeah, but you never rebel. Yeah, I could. But it's interesting that the ambassador claimed that Richard married Anne by force.
Oh, yeah.
Just leave that hanging, because I don't know.
See, and now I'm wondering if that's a historical novel or actual history. Something about Richard actually loving Anne.
Yes, we hear
kids.
about them, that they knew each other since they were children.
Yeah.
But, well, poor Cecily must have wondered what she'd done to deserve such sons. And at this time, her eldest daughter, Anne, died. So the number of sensible children, i.e. the daughters, was decreasing.
Oh, dear. If she's that egotistical, it's not her fault. It's her husband's. They all take after her husband, not her.
No.
Yeah.
1476, and Cecily's husband and son Edmund were reburied in Fotheringay Castle, and their heads and bodies were united. What was it called? Terminant.
Right.
Terminant. That
Is
was
it terminant?
I think so.
You know, I sometimes wonder what Google thinks of me.
I wonder why there's a word for this. There shouldn't be a word for reuniting a head and a body.
Which is what I'm typing. Reuniting a head with the body. What is it called? Oh, you're lying, Google AI. They said there is no word.
Well, we know better, Google AI. I think it is terminant.
It is terminant. I'm pretty sure. We've discussed it before, so please see whichever previous.
Yeah, we can't whittle it down, so you'll just have to listen to all of them again to find out which episode it came in. As we saw in a cameo episode on Elizabeth Woodville's daughters, they, oh, for goodness sake, they were all there for the tournament.
Thank you, autocorrect.
That's where I've seen the word before.
Yeah.
As was Margaret Beaufort, although Cecily wasn't for some reason, and neither was George. Seems odd, I mean...
Oh, I forgot Margaret was good friends with Cecily.
She was quite a bit younger.
Yes.
1477, and we'll see why we know the name Twinho. John Twinho was the son of Anchoret Twinho, and she was the lady-in-waiting to Isabel Neville, George's wife. When Isabel died along with their baby, George accused Anchoret of murdering them, and she was arrested in Frome and Somerset and taken all the way to Warwick to be tried and executed. The jury was so horrified by the whole thing and what they'd been forced to do by George that they went to Anchoret's cell to apologise to her.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
No, made them
Turn it
feel
back.
better.
Redo it.
Well, this was one of the events that led to George's downfall. And John Twynhoe's son, Roger, led the campaign to get Anchoret's name cleared.
After she's dead.
Well, quite a long time after, it's her grandson.
Yeah.
But according to Hollingshead, quote, the subsequent execution of the Duke of Clarence rose of a foolish prophecy, which was that after K. Edward, they always like to shorten things, one should reign whose first letter of his name should be G, wherewith the king and queen were sore troubled and began to conceive egregious grudge against this duke, and could not be quiet till they had brought him to his end, unquote.
He kind of deserves it, though.
John Rouse agrees that this was the reason, quote, because there was a prophecy that after E, that is Edward IV, G would be king, and because of its ambiguity, George, Duke of Clarence, on the account of being Duke George, was put to death, unquote.
Pretty sure that's not actually the reason. Could have been all the times he turned on everyone.
Yes, the fact that he had rebelled against his brother twice. Well, Dominic Mancini said it was the Queen in particular who was worried. Quote, remembered the insults to her family and the calumnies with which she was reproached, namely that according to established usage she was not the legitimate wife of the king. Thus she concluded that her offspring by the king would never come to the throne unless the Duke of Clarence were removed, unquote.
I'd be pretty ticked too. I don't know if I'd kill him. That may be a bit too far.
You wouldn't kill him?
No.
Would you pay someone else to kill him?
I would not be a good king or queen. No, I wouldn't kill anybody.
No. Well, you can get away with it now. I don't think King Charles has killed anybody. Foxes and hares, yes, but not people.
Yes, but not people.
The instigators of this prophecy were tried and executed. That'll learn them to keep their mouths shut, won't it?
Well, it is sorcery.
It is, yes. So that is the executions of the Duke of Clarence and the Earl of Desmond that have been traced back to Elizabeth Woodville. So is this cherchez la femme, or was she actually a bit of a monster?
Was it a monster, though? Because that would be expected.
Is it expected of a queen? And the queen's meant to be the one that says, no, be nice. Don't do that.
Anjou?
Oh, she didn't do that.
Well, she would have. She would have killed everybody.
No, I meant she wouldn't have said, no, be nice.
Yeah.
True.
Look at the child she raised.
Yeah.
I'm going to let my child decide whether or not you live or die. What?
Don't ask a 6-year-old boy.
No, they
blimey.
are sociopaths still.
Richard thought that Elizabeth Woodville was responsible for the death of his brother. He wrote to the 8th Earl Desmond, the son of the one who was executed, quote, the said bishop shall show that, albeit the father of the said earl was extortiously slain and murdered by colour of the law within Ireland by certain persons then having the governance and rule thereof, i.e. Tiptoft, against all manhood, reason and good conscience, yet notwithstanding that the semblable chance was and happened since, I find Richard III the hardest one to read.
Yes.
Happened since within this realm of England, as well of his brother, the Duke of Clarence, as other his nigh kinsmen and great friends, unquote. So I think he's linking the two executions as from the same source.
Yeah.
Brothers in arms, you and me, because we both lost family members to that woman.
That woman. That
Yes.
harridan. That's such a good word.
It
We need
is.
to bring that one back. It's fun to say.
Well, we all know how George was executed. And this is where I was saying, read on, we'll come to it later. It seems that Cecily was partly responsible for this.
What?
Although whether she expressly said he should be drowned in a vat of Malmsey, that seems quite unlikely. Drowning was seen to be the kinder option to execute someone.
In wine, though.
Yeah, that's it. I'm saying I don't know whether she chose wine or whether she just said, no, if you've got to do something,
don't execute
drown him. Well, this comes from a French source. Quote, in the said year 77, it came about in the Kingdom of England that because King Edward learnt that one of his brothers, who was the Duke of Clarence, intended to cross the sea into Flanders to give aid and assistance to his sister, Duchess of Burgundy, widow of the said deceased last Duke.
I love her now. She's not stomping her feet.
This made King Edward arrest his brother and imprison him in the Tower, while he was detained as a prisoner for quite a long time, while the said King Edward assembled his council, by whose deliberations he, Clarence, was condemned to be led from the said Tower of London, being dragged on his buttocks to the gibbet of the said City of London, and there to be cut open, and his entrails thrown into the fire, and then his neck should be cut, and his body made into 4 quarters. But afterwards, by the great prayer and request of the mother of the said Edward and Clarence, his sentence was changed and moderated, so that in the month of February of the said year, Clarence, being a prisoner in the Tower of London, was taken and brought out of this said prison, and after he had been confessed, was thrust alive in a cask of malmsey, opened at one end, his head downward, and there he remained until he had given up the ghost, and then he was pulled out and his neck was cut, and afterwards he was shrouded and borne to burial in, and then it's a blank, with his wife, sometime daughter of the Earl of Warwick, who died at the Battle of Coventry, it means Tewkesbury, with the Prince of Wales, son of the sainted Lancastrian King Henry VI of England, unquote. That's all one sentence.
If anybody thinks we are joking, please go read any court document, court roll, any letter from anyone to anyone. They had no punctuation.
No. So many subclauses.
Yeah. Same sentence.
So she got his sentence commuted from what's really the very, very worst to something that's just extremely unpleasant.
It doesn't feel like it was commuted. It's just morphed. Commuted is, okay, life in prison.
Yeah.
Not...
That wasn't going to happen.
We're going to drown you in wine. Which couldn't have been fun.
I wonder if they reuse the wine. I mean, why not, really? Yes.
Oh, Lucy! Oh! What is wrong?
I just don't like to waste things.
I know why your dad did horror movies. There is a place where they have a toe or something in tequila or vodka and people drink it.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think I'm weird?
Where did I find that? It's the sourdough cocktail. Yes. So, oh God, it's Canadian.
Well, they're a funny lot over there.
It's called the Sourdough Cocktail. It's a novelty drink served in Dawson City, Yukon, Canada that includes a pickled human toe. The patron must have their lips touch the toe before finishing the drink. Started in 1973? What's wrong with you people?
Good heavens.
Okay. Yeah, it exists. It's Canadian. I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, well, we've all said it. Where are we? Quite a sidetrack there.
So yes, they might have reused the wine.
They might have done. I was just remembering how they reused the oil after they put syphilitic people in.
So gross.
Yeah. Anyway, on top of everything else, poor Cecily is now facing the execution of her son by another son.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing was that George was accused of going to help Margaret. Going to help her with what?
Oh. He was going to... Wasn't he going to marry... Mary? Yeah, what was she going to do? Because Margaret wouldn't have turned against her older brother.
No.
She was quite... I know there were a lot of rumors about George and Margaret, and most of them from Margaret's end were debunked. So...
What sort of rumours?
That she wanted him to marry Mary. And that she was helping him get the crown.
Yes, of course.
And none of that was true because she was adamantly working to get Maximilian and Mary together.
When we do an episode on Mary, we'll discover that she had a long list of suitors.
Yes, probably. She was extremely wealthy.
Crazily long list. Just a month earlier than what we've just read about George, Cecily had attended the marriage of her grandson, Richard of Shrewsbury, the younger of the princes in the Tower, to Anne Mowbray. Surely the jollity of the occasion must have been tempered by what was going to happen to George.
Yeah.
He was in prison. He'd been in prison for 6 months. And I don't know how certain it was at that point that he would be executed, but it's still got to put a bit of a dampener on the proceedings, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd find it hard to have fun. Cecily had become very religious, spending a fair amount of time at a Benedictine abbey near Norwich. And it has been suggested that in 1480 she actually became a nun. But it wasn't uncommon for people as they got older to go on some sort of retreat. Maybe that's why Elizabeth Woodville went to Bermondsey Abbey. Maybe there wasn't anything dodgy about it. She just, I just want out. Cecily didn't become a nun, but she did become an oblate, which is quite similar to being a nun, since you wear a habit, but I don't think you take the vows. And she didn't cut herself off from the world. Letters survive showing that she was still conducting business for her estates. For instance, she appointed a certain Sir Giles Dobney as the Constable of Bridgewater Castle in Somerset. We haven't mentioned Dobney for a while.
No.
In November 1480, Cecily was godmother to her granddaughter Bridget of York, and that's the one who did become a nun.
I wonder if she wanted to.
We don't know.
She was slated for the church by the king and queen, but I wonder if she wanted to.
Edward was very keen that they should have a nun in the family.
I wonder if she could have left after her parents passed away. Because Elizabeth of York sent her presents. And paid for things for her, which you would think would be done by the convent. Maybe she needed silk garments instead of the flax and wool ones. Sorry, linen and wool, not flax and wool. Linen is made from flax.
I got the impression that Bridget took it all very seriously, but then probably don't have much of a choice.
No, none.
Death of Edward. And this always seems to be a massive turning point in anything, doesn't it? You always get the bit where it says, and then Edward died, and everything changed. It seems that Cecily was in London when King Edward died. Mancini gives us this description. Quote, a tall man and very fat, though not to the point of deformity. He allowed the damp cold to strike his vitals when one day he was taken in a small boat with those whom he had bidden to go fishing and watched their sport too eagerly. He then contracted the illness from which he never recovered, unquote. So it was too eagerly watching other people fishing that killed him. So it's a common complaint, isn't it?
And at what point are you deformed from being
I don't know. But he wasn't. So
He wasn't.
It must have been quite gratifying.
Okay.
So of the 12 children Cecily had with Richard, supposedly, only 3 were left. Richard, Elizabeth and Margaret, and only 2 would outlive her.
Can you imagine that? Watching your children die one by one.
And Cecily must have been thinking that out of her boys, Richard was the one who caused her the least grief.
True. Until...
I'll just leave that hanging there, I think. At Edward's funeral, prayers were said for Edward V and Elizabeth Woodville. But Richard and Cecily were left off the list. And we know now just how important prayer lists are as to work out who's in and who's out. In fact, there were several little events that implied that Cecily was being nudged out. Her steward, John Howard, had been a baron, but now he found himself being demoted. The Howards were an East Anglian family, as were the Mowbrays, and Elizabeth's son Richard of Shrewsbury had married Anne Mowbray. So Elizabeth is saying, right, my people are going up, your people are going down.
Yeah.
Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was not even told of Edward's death, at least not until he heard it from Hastings. That may have alerted him to the fact that the Woodvilles had no intention of working with him and pushed him into whatever it was he then did. He took Edward V under his own protection at Stony Stratford and then brought him to London. Edward was parked at the Bishop of London's palace while Richard went to Baynard's Castle to stay with his mum.
Did you really just say he was parked?
Parked, yes. At least we assume he did, since Mancini tells us, quote, the executors of Edward IV assembled at Baynard's Castle, the London house of Cecily, Duchess of York, mother of the late king, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, then and there took over all Edward IV's seals, great, privy and signet, unquote. But it's interesting that who has the seals? Cecily got the seals? Richard got the seals? Don't know.
Don't know either.
It was then that the Bishop of Bath and Wells, Robert Stillington, dropped his bombshell. He announced that he himself had married Edward IV to Eleanor Butler 3 years before his marriage to Elizabeth, and that at the time of the second marriage, Eleanor had still been alive.
Where were you 11, 12 years ago?
Yeah, why have you not mentioned this before? Why have you picked your moment?
Because I was afraid of the king. Which actually would be a legitimate.
It would be a legitimate reason, yes. Come to think of it, yes. The historian John Ashdown Hill is convinced that this claim is true and that was the reason why Cecily was so opposed to Edward's marriage to Elizabeth. If that's the case, she may well have supported Richard rather than her grandson Edward, if she felt he had more legitimacy. Mm-hmm. And in fact, Ashdown Hill speculates that maybe it was Cecily who talked Richard into revealing the previous marriage.
Give me a break.
While they're at Baynard's Castle together.
Come on, everybody stop.
If she did support him, and that's a big if, he was about to repay her by slapping her across the face with a rotten halibut. Mancini writes of what happened next.
You have no good sons, ma'am.
No, I'm afraid you don't. He says that the lords were told, quote, the only survivor of the royal stock was Richard, Duke of Gloucester, who was legally entitled to the crown and could bear its responsibilities thanks to his proficiency. Full stop. His previous career and blameless morals would be a sure guarantee of his government. Although he would refuse such a burden, he might yet change his mind if he were asked by the peers. On hearing this, the lords consulted their own safety, warned by the example of Hastings, and perceiving the alliance of the two dukes, whose power supported by a multitude of troops would be difficult and hazardous to resist, that's Richard and Buckingham, whereas they saw themselves surrounded and in the hands of the dukes, and therefore they determined to declare Richard their king, and ask him to undertake the burden of office. On the following day, 25th of June 1483, all the lords foregathered at the house of Richard's mother, whither he had purposely betaken himself, that these events might not take place in the tower where the young king was confined. There the whole business was transacted, the oaths of allegiance given, and other indispensable acts duly performed, unquote. So, in other words, bear in mind he is the best qualified for the job, has impeccable morals, and also bear in mind what happened to Hastings when he stood up to him. That's what they're all being asked to consider. But yeah, I like the fact that he went to his mum's house because he didn't want it to take place in the same place as where the little lads were.
After he's already slapped her in the face with the hey, you were loose.
Yeah. How much was Cecily behind Richard's plan to become king? Was she even the instigator of the plan, as Ashdown Hill speculates? Maybe Cecily felt that it was better to have an adult on the throne than a 12-year-old boy.
After all the Wars of the Roses, that might be a thing. And it's still within her family.
Yeah. Her steward, John Howard, was elevated to the Duke of Norfolk, having been stripped of his title by Elizabeth of Woodville. Was this a thank you to Cecily for her support? Thanks, Mum. We don't think Cecily had as much influence on Richard as she had on Edward. For one thing, he was in his 30s and Edward had been 18 or so when he became king, didn't he?
Yes.
Also, Richard had a wife, A real one, not one lurking in the shadows.
Yes, Anne.
So Cecily wasn't the First Lady. She attended the coronation, but she didn't play any part in it. We know she was there because she was allocated a robe for the occasion. And interestingly, Eleanor Butler's sister was also allocated a robe for the occasion.
Oh. Oh, well, that makes sense. Let's parade out the family that they're actually related to. I'd see that as propaganda.
I felt it might be a thank you. Thank you for backing me up when I made the claims about your sister.
Ah.
I don't know. Richard and Anne continued to live with Cecily until the 4th of July, when they moved to the Tower to prepare for the coronation. A quote from Ashdown Hill. Quote, Richard III seems subsequently to have had no idea what became of the two sons of Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville, which suggests they had somehow been extracted from his custody, unquote. So that's a comfort.
Oh, yeah.
They're fine. They're fine. Richard confirmed the grants for various estates that Cecily had been given by Edward IV, and also gave her the right to export wool through London, Sandwich and Southampton.
Ooh, that's lucrative.
Yeah.
How weird is that that's something we know?
I don't know. Specifically, London, Sandwich and Southampton. And we also know that was to pay off the grant of £689, 6 shillings and 8 pence a year that Edward had promised her but never paid. Right. So Edward had failed to keep up the payments for both his sister and his mother.
Of course.
No wonder she preferred Richard. We don't know where Cecily was during the Buckingham Rebellion, or what she thought of his execution. I mean, she must surely have been torn. He was her sister's child.
I think she's numb. Look at how many she's lost already. I think she's just completely numb.
Well, he was the son of the Buckingham that Cecily had been entrusted to be nagged at by her sister. But also, he was the man who officiated at the execution of George, Duke of Clarence.
Ooh.
So, painful when these are all family affairs, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the 9th of May 1485, Richard licensed the foundation of a chantry in Devon, specifically to say prayers for himself and Cecily.
Aww.
Richard's wife and son had died, so she was all he had left, really, apart from two sisters who don't get a mention in his prayers.
Yeah, who cares? They'll be fine.
We know he visited his mum in Berkhamsted Castle on 17th of May 1485, and that was the last she saw of him.
Wow.
There's a wonderful description of a day in the life of the oldest Cecily, and this comes from a collection of ordinances and regulations for the government of the royal household made by diverse reigns from King Edward III to King William and Queen Mary, London, 1790. Quote, a compendious recitation compiled of the order, rules and construction of the house of the Right Excellent Princess Cecily, late mother to the Right Noble Prince King Edward IV. Meseemeth it is requisite to understand the order of her own person concerning God and the world. She useth to arise at 7 of the clock, and hath ready her chaplain to say with her matins of the day, and matins of Our Lady. And when she is fully ready, she hath a low mass in her chamber, and after mass she taketh something to recreate nature. I presume that's food. And so goeth to the chapel, hearing the divine service, and 2 low masses, from thence to dinner, during the time whereof she has a lecture of holy matter. After dinner she giveth audience to all such as hath any matter to shew unto her, by the space of 1 hour, and then sleepeth 1/4 of an hour, and after she has slept she continueth in prayer unto the first peal of evensong. Then she drinketh wine and ale at her pleasure, unquote. So her day alternates between eating and praying, and then she gets absolutely plastered. But this equates to the life of a Benedictine oblate, apart from the getting plastered bit, obviously. how much praying can you fit in a day?
Apparently a lot.
Yeah.
But somebody else does everything for you. You're not having to cook. You're not having to clean. You're not having to sew your own clothes. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's all she seems to do, pray.
Yeah. It's her hobby.
Yeah. Henry VII. As with most things about Cecily, we don't know what she made of Henry VII. He was related to her by marriage, being her grandson-in-law, and they were also related by blood. Going back, you won't be surprised to hear to John of Gaunt.
Everybody is John of Gaunt. That man had too many children.
Yeah. Henry had just killed her last surviving son. It would have been interesting to read Cecily's letters to her daughter Margaret of Burgundy on the subject. But if there were any extant, I couldn't find any.
You know what? I didn't read any mention of communication between Cecily and Margaret. At all.
Well, she was too busy praying. She didn't have time to write. The other thing I'd love to know is whether she actually got on with Margaret Beaufort at this time. They'd known each other before Henry became king.
Yes.
She must have felt resentment of Margaret having pushed Henry towards the throne.
Yeah.
But I thought she must also have thought, yeah, I'd have done the same thing. In fact, I did do the same thing.
Do people really think that way when it's that disastrous, when your son dies? I don't
Maybe not.
know.
She never spoke anything against Henry that we know of. Nothing that survives.
Well, she's still got her daughters.
Yeah.
Do you really want to sour their possibilities?
She didn't spend much time at court at this point. She didn't have time with all that praying. She can't go to court as well. And all that drinking.
Pray on the way.
It was to Henry's benefit that the titulus regius should be overturned, since it had made his wife illegitimate. If it was true that Edward was pre-contracted or even married to Eleanor Butler, then the titulus should have stayed. The parliamentary rolls show that Elizabeth Butler, Eleanor's sister, was sure that Henry's plan was that Eleanor, quote, may be forever out of remembrance and also forgot, unquote, which is a bit of tautology there.
Yes.
This implies that Eleanor's sister was upholding the claim that Eleanor and Edward had been married.
Well, of course, she was now related to the king. Or she would have been, for a while.
If Cecily was sure of her son's bigamy, what would be in it for her now to bring the subject up? If she resented Henry, and it's hard to see how she wouldn't, would she have thought that since a large part of his legitimacy came from being married to Edward IV's daughter, would it be quite a satisfying act of revenge to announce that she knew for certain that Elizabeth of York was a bastard? But Cecily was not only Elizabeth's grandmother, but her godmother. And she's not got much family left. And yet she doesn't seem to have gone to Elizabeth's coronation. But it's dangerous to read too much into that. Cecily might have been ill. She was 72 by this point.
72? Good age.
Henry confirmed some of the grants for Cecily's estates, but took away others. I think that's probably just Henry being Henry. It may be that what was Cecily now? She was no longer mother of the king. She was grandmother of a queen. But that's not really a role.
No.
Even if Cecily did milk it for all it was worth. Maybe it was to be expected that she'd be demoted, and it would not be felt that she needed so many estates. And also, if she'd chosen to live the life of an oblate, she probably shouldn't need anything.
Yeah.
Henry was allocating Cecily's land for when she died, which seems a bit macabre. But Richard was doing exactly the same thing, and she was his mum, so it's just what they did. Quite normal. Promising loyal people something in the future, it would keep them loyal for the intervening period. And again, Cecily had been given the right of presentation of the deanery of Clare to her priest. But when Cecily died, Henry went back on that and granted it to John Morton and Giles Dobney, amongst others. But again, I don't think we can see Cecily as being particularly punished. That's just what Henry did.
Yeah.
But Cecily's priest was arrested for misprision, keeping quiet about treason.
What is that? Oh, I haven't heard that one before.
But I couldn't find out any more about that, and he was soon back in harness. So, Thomas Penn in The Winter's King, says that Cecily might have been implicated in the Perkin Warbeck saga. It's not impossible, I suppose. It may seem odd to side with the enemy of your granddaughter, but her daughter Margaret was convinced, or so she said.
Okay.
So Cecily may have given it some credence. If so, it would be understandable if Henry were a little annoyed with her.
Yes.
The Chronicle of London states, quote, "This year, 1495, in the month of June, died the Duchess of York," unquote. In her will, she asked that, quote, "my body to be buried beside the body of my most entirely best beloved lord and husband, father unto my said lord and son, and in his tomb within the collegiate church of Fotheringhay," unquote. Actually, it's interesting that she didn't marry again. She was a widow for 35 years.
Oh.
Doesn't seem to have occurred to her to take another husband. Her will goes on, "And I will that after my decease, all raid debts sufficiently appearing and prove to be paid, thanking our Lord at this time of making of this my testament to the knowledge of my conscience, I am not much in debt," unquote. I wonder how much was not much. I'm not much in debt.
That and what I'm wondering is, how can you be in debt? You're in a convent.
Well, I'm not sure she is. I mean, she's an oblate. Does that mean you actually live within the convent walls, or?
I thought so. She's not a vowess. A vowess lives outside of a convent. Hold on. Let's Google. See if we get something useful. Okay, so according to the Dwelling Place Monastery, they do not have to live within a convent. And they commit themselves year by year. They don't have, once they've set as an oblate, they don't have to continually. They remain one with the community without being in there. Interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't really see a convent allowing her to get plastered every night.
Yeah, and it looks like the oblates are different depending on which order. So if she's Order of Saint Benedict, okay, then they live as a nun or a monk within the world without being within the monastic community.
But she does go on, quote, "And if it happen, as I trust to God it shall not, that there be not found sufficient money, as well to pay my debts as to inter my body, then in avoiding such charges as might grow from the same, the which God defend, I limit and aside all my parcels of plate as belongeth to my chapel, pantry, cellar, ewry, and squilcry, to the performing of the same, as appeareth in the inventory, except such plate as I have bequeathed," unquote. So if there's not enough money to pay my debts and bury me, sell some of my stuff.
Sell off my... Yeah.
I looked up squilcry. I couldn't find it, but I think it must mean scullery.
Okay. Because we know ewer is for wine.
Yeah, and the cellar, pantry.
Cellar, pantry. Yeah, all of those make sense. But
Squilcry. Nice, isn't it? Good Scrabble word.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if it's not in the dictionary and you can't look it up.
That's true. Well, as far as the will goes, there seems to be no hard feelings from Cecily. She bequeathed the Queen a crosslet of diamonds, a psalter, and a nice gobbet of the flesh of St. Christopher. So that's a treat. To Margaret Beaufort she gave, quote, "a portuas with clasps of gold covered with black cloth of gold," unquote. And a portuas is a book which contains lessons and hymns, like a book of hours. And it may still exist. We think it's the one that Richard III had. Henry VII was given pretty much what she knew he'd take on her death anyway. I think she was happier to make it look like a gift and just accept the inevitable. She also gave either Henry or Prince Arthur, I've seen both, bed hangings with a wheel of fortune depicted on it. And if it was for Henry, she might have been saying, "Don't forget, you're up now, but you can still go down." If it was to Arthur, then it was sadly prescient. She knew all about the Wheel of Fortune. She had been a, quote, queen by right, unquote, but fortune had dictated it would never happen, and she was still not happy about that. In her will, she's described as, quote, Cecily, wife unto a right noble prince, Richard, late Duke of York, father unto the most christened prince, my lord, and son, King Edward IV, unquote. Where's Richard?
Oh, yeah, where's Richard?
Yeah, he's written out of her own will. But given who's on the throne and is married to her granddaughter,
maybe he doesn't.
It might have been the wisest choice.
Possibly.
It's a hard move, though, isn't it? Thinking, well, I better not put him in.
And no mention of the rest of her kids.
Well, yeah. The people who have bequeathed items in the will, her daughter Elizabeth is mentioned, but not Margaret.
Oh.
And that may have been because Margaret was persona non grata with the new regime. And Cecily may have found ways to leave her things below the radar.
Right, by sending it to her prior.
Yeah. We know she instructed her executor to give money to a religious house which had stuck with the Yorkists through thick and thin, although it doesn't appear in her will. In fact, the executor was Richard Lacy, who was the priest who'd been attainted for misprision. So, he got better.
Yeah.
Cecily bequeathed stuff to Bridget, Anne, Cecily and Catherine of York, Edmund de la Pole, Humphrey de la Pole, and Henry and Elizabeth's boys, Arthur and
I'm assuming
Henry.
this is well before they decided to wander off and claim the crown.
Yeah, I should think so. She didn't bequeath anything to Edward. No, I've got a special friend, Earl of Warwick, or his sister Margaret, or Richard III's illegitimate children, or William and Richard de la Pole. But it's odd that her son George's children were omitted.
Yeah.
It may be, but she knew they weren't popular with Henry's regime. She's playing it very safe.
Great, so her will is a popularity contest.
She's playing it too safe, I think. You're dead, Cecily. You're all right.
Nothing's going to happen to you now.
Two of her executors were Thomas Lovell and Reginald Bray. And they were also put in charge of building a fitting tomb for Richard III. So maybe she thought if they were respectful enough to build the tomb, then maybe they'd look after her will properly.
And that makes me wonder her connections with Margaret Beaufort, because Reginald Bray is her man.
Cecily was buried in Fotheringhay, which is 70 miles from where she died, so her body had to be transported there. Her tomb cost 100 marks. So,
wow.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Unfortunately, so little is left of Fotheringhay that the tomb is no longer there. In fact, all that's left there is a small hillock that used to be the motte and a lump of masonry surrounded by some railings.
Oh.
And who can we blame for this?
The jerk who's coming next. I am so glad we're not actually spending an entire season talking about him.
Well,
that would have been a downer.
We will be.
Well, he'll be mentioned, but we aren't actually focusing on him.
No.
We get to vilify him in the very first episode of the season, and that's it.
I'm keeping an open mind.
Good luck. I am not.
Desperately trying to keep an open mind about this monster.
I can't keep an open mind. I've already done research with him for previous history classes, so no, he's an evil SOB.
Well, the bodies of Cecily and Richard were removed by Elizabeth I, who felt it wasn't a fit place for people of their rank to be left. And they probably were just left, really. I mean, it must have been abandoned by that point. We have a description of their final resting place by Sandford in a genealogical history of the Kings and Queens of England, 1707. Quote, the bones of the Duke of York and his son, the Earl of Rutland, with the body of Duchess Cecile, lapped in lead, being removed out of Fotheringhay Castle churchyard, were buried in the church by the commandment of Queen Elizabeth, and a mean monument of plaster wrought with a trowel erected over them, very unbefitting to great princes. Mr. Crusoe, a gentleman who dwelt in the college at the same time, told my author that their coffins being opened, their bodies appeared very plainly to be discovered, and withal that the Duchess Cecily, about her neck, hanging on a silk riband, a pardon from Rome, which penned in a fine Roman hand, was as fair and fresh as to be read as if it had been written the day before, unquote.
A pardon for what?
That's what I wondered. What's she done?
I knew you weren't going to know what the answer was. That's why I got frustrated. Because otherwise he would have said so.
No, we don't know. Don't know why she felt she needed a pardon. Maybe she was apologising to the world for
giving them these children.
We were saying it was frustrating that Cecily didn't keep a diary, so we never knew what she felt. But there's something that's even more frustrating. She was in constant contact with her son Richard. She may have been writing to him every day. Would he not have told her what happened to the princes in the tower?
Oh!
So many people must have known. Why don't they tell us?
Yes.
Anyway, shall we rate her?
Yes, we shall.
I think Rex Factor marked Henry II down because he'd spawned such awful children. I think the difference there was that they all rose up against him with the help of his wife, whereas Cecily boys just bickered amongst themselves. They were still pretty awful, though.
And Fibbily.
Well, she was a woman, so she couldn't physically fight in the Wars of the Roses, so she pretty much had to rely on intrigue.
Yes.
And she had to do it all her life, first for her husband, then for her children. She had to protect her honour from 2 of her children. She had to protect some children from other children. It's
But was any of that really intrigue, though? Intrigue is like secretive and...
Well, she went to Sandwich, and we don't know whether she was saying to George, for goodness sakes, just stop being an idiot and come home. Come home now. Or whether she was saying, great, you get over there, and you and Warwick, you fight the good fight. We don't know. Historians say the opposite. I mean, 2 opposite things. So any time she's having to connive against one of her sons because they're on opposite sides.
Or she could have been there saying, don't start and I'm not getting involved. We don't actually have any hints.
We know she brought George back into the fold by sending this woman over to knock some sense into him. I'm not sure. I feel that her whole life she was put in a position of amphibalizing whether she wanted it or not.
Yes, but she didn't instigate it.
No.
So if anything, it's reactionary.
Yeah.
I'm giving her 0.
Yeah? Oh, I'm going to give her... I'm going to give her a 3 because she had to do it.
Had to do what, though? We don't have... Give me examples, specific examples of where she did it.
Well, that one about getting George back. Sending somebody over to say, oh, yes, I'm coming over to tell George to follow Warwick's plan. And in fact, she was sending this woman over to say completely the opposite.
Okay.
Many. I'm sure after we stop recording, I'll think, oh, hang on a minute.
Okay, I'll give her a 1.
Okay, I was going to go for a nothing massive, 2, I think.
2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Antiperistasis.
This is where she's going to score, because she was all over the map. Husband attainted. Duchess, then back to Duchess, then mother of the king, and then mother of the king again. Grandmother of the king. So wait, it was mother of the king, grandmother of the king, mother of the king.
Yeah, grandmother of the queen. And then after that.
Yeah.
Although she didn't get where she wanted to be.
Well,
She planned to be queen. And all right, it wasn't the fault of her husband. It wasn't her fault that her husband was killed.
Yeah. And her sons.
And maybe she ought to get extra points for ignoring that fact and calling herself queen anyway.
I kind of feel that she should.
I am queen, whatever you say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a rags to riches story by any thought.
No, it's a riches to riches story. But
Even when they were tainted, she wasn't down and out, but she had to go and ask the king for her money back.
I am backing back to Amphibole, and I am giving her more points for that.
Right.
Her whole family should have been attainted. Not only were they not attainted, like she wasn't, but she was given a very, very high allowance.
Yes, I mean, it was lucky for her that it was Henry VI, I think. You only had to go and say...
Yeah.
I can remember at school, I had my sweets confiscated, and I had to go to the head teacher and say, I've come here because I was eating sweets and they've been confiscated. And so I was in trouble. And she was married to the physics teacher, and he answered the door. And he said, oh, you've had your sweets confiscated. Hang on a minute, I think we've got a box of chocolates inside.
Oh, that's so lovely.
And she came for me. His wife must have been fuming with him when she gave her what? So I feel that was the same with Henry. She went and said, I haven't got any money. Oh, you poor thing, let me give you lots of money. And everybody around him thinking, yes, she's been attainted. That's why she hasn't got money.
Yes, but Margaret of Anjou would have said something. So would Somerset. So I
think she sneaked in.
Yeah.
Talked to him personally.
Okay, I'm going to give her a 3 just for the gall of that.
Okay, I'll give her a 4. And then we got up to 7.
Okay, so she went from a 3 to a 7.
Yeah, well done, Cecily.
Well done.
Antiperistasis, though. Does she get marked down because she wasn't a queen, or does she get marked up because she refused to believe it?
I want to mark her up because she ended up mother of the king more than once.
She is the only person that can claim that.
Yes.
That's her major claim to fame. She's the only mother of 2 kings in this country.
Yeah.
But that's more Beteem than antiperistasis, I think, isn't it?
Possibly. Mother of 2 kings, grandmother of a king and a queen.
And she hung on in there.
Yeah, throughout all of it. I'm going to give her a 5 because she ends up slightly above her space, but she was also attainted at one point. And she was constantly being told that she was loose woman. And she still managed to keep her reputation.
And she was constantly being knocked off the prayer list.
Yes.
That's an antiperistasis in itself, rising up and down the prayer list.
Yes, that was an eternity that she could have been in hell. So for her, that would have been very horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give her a 5.
I think 5. No more than that, because obviously she didn't come from nothing.
True.
But she was the youngest of 22 children, though.
Yeah, jeez.
Martyrdom.
Well, she certainly had a lot of sadness in her life, but I'm not sure we can call that martyrdom.
No, I don't. She didn't actively fight for any of her children, it doesn't seem. Otherwise,
well, she did
George
actually,
wouldn't be
because
dead.
she was in London when Edward was fighting Jasper Tudor.
Okay.
And Margaret of Anjou was trying to get into London, and she told the officers, no, she can't come in. We'll only let my son in. So that was fighting for her son.
Sort of. I don't see her putting herself really at risk with that.
Yeah,
though.
I don't think that was martyrdom necessarily. I mean, she'd be more at risk if Margaret did come in, I expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
I'll give her 1 for constantly thinking she was queen.
I think her husband would have got something because he did die for something he believed in. He felt that Henry was being badly advised.
Yes.
But I think for her, I mean, I might be maligning her here, we don't know, we hear so much little from her, that being queen was what she was really after.
Yeah.
So what have you gone for?
1.
I'll go for a 0, I think. I can't honestly.
Okay.
Sorry, Cecily. And I can't remember your name either. I called her Cecily all the way through.
B-team.
Ouch.
Yes, she was the mother of two kings. I mean, that's big.
Yes.
And she was able to demonstrate that a woman could affect politics in a major way. I mean, there was two women.
So one
Cecily
act.
was in London, Margaret was out, and Cecily...
Yes, but that's not unique to her.
It's quite unique for a woman to protect the capital city of a country by going to the offices and saying, this is what I want to do and this is what we're going to do.
Okay.
She's been played on screen by Annette Crosby, Eleanor Bron, Maggie Smith, Judi Dench and Violet Carson. That one won't mean anything to anyone but English people of a certain age, but she was Ina Sharples in Coronation Street. Now, Coronation Street is a very, very long-running soap opera.
Soap opera.
Set up north, and she was in the early days, in the sort of 60s. She's in the black and white versions. So, yes, I mean, Violet Carson, I can't quite believe it.
Coronation Street. She was in 1,122 episodes of Coronation Street. Wow. Yeah.
Judi Dench said in The Hollow Crown, when she was being interviewed about appearing in The Hollow Crown, she said, quote, I play this old bag Cecily Neville, unquote.
In what? What's it called?
The Hollow Crown.
The Hollow Crown.
But I haven't seen it, obviously. That stands to reason.
Was it maybe the Age of Kings? Yes, Duchess of York, Age of Kings. And Age of Kings is what it's called. It's a TV miniseries from 1960.
Oh, right. Yeah, anyway, so Cecily Neville's an old bag. Did you get points for that?
Now I need to see if I can find that.
I think for Betim, as I said earlier, so many people say, oh, she's completely ignored. But an awful lot of people seem to be saying she's completely ignored. I don't think she is.
No, not if she's in. Well, yeah.
I think if you're interested in the Wars of the
And Age
Roses...
of Kings is on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right.
You're never going to watch it.
I'll surprise you and watch it tonight. Actually, yes.
Sean Connery's in it too.
Okay.
Very, very young Sean Connery.
You're still not selling it to me, I'm afraid. Anyway, what do you want to give her for Betim?
Well, she does end up being one of the ancestors of every king and queen in Britain after then. Give her a 2.
Just a 2.
Well,
Yeah,
she
I
didn't
mean,
build anything. She doesn't patronize anything. She didn't start universities or build... Well, she built a
She
chantry.
built a chantry, yeah.
Okay, 3.
Yeah, for God's sake, pray for me, because my son keeps
Nobody else
pushing
is.
me off the list. 3. I'm going to go for a bit more than that, because I think she was a big name in her day.
Okay.
Perhaps not so much now, but I think she's sort of making a bit of a comeback. And she was played by Violet Carson. That, I don't know, that just sort of tickled me a bit. Especially since if you look at a picture of Violet Carson in Coronation Street, she's wearing a hairnet and it doesn't look like her at all. I'm going to go for a 4. Not huge, but...
A 4. Okay. That's a 7 for the team.
Float a bleeding float.
I mean, it's definitely the hat that steals the show in this picture, isn't it? And the extraordinary shape of her body. She appears to have no rib cage.
Yeah.
Her belt seems to be squeezed in so tight that it's pushing her breast out like balloons, isn't it?
Yes.
Doesn't look comfortable. No wonder she...
No.
Perhaps she wasn't haughty. She was just in excruciating pain all the time.
I can't smile. I can't laugh. I can't breathe. Yeah, so the waistband is actually just underneath her armpits, basically. Ugh, that doesn't look comfortable. Okay, so she's one of several people in here. Who's supposed to be in front of her?
We don't know, well, I'm not sure who the other people are, but it comes from the Neville Book of Hours, 1445. So there'll be other Nevilles. She looks quite witchy, the one at the front, doesn't she? If you were to cast the Ice Queen.
Or, oh, no. She looks like Snow White's
Yes,
stepmother.
yes.
Okay, but the woman in the front is wearing ermine fur, which is royal. So, is that supposed to be Margaret of Anjou?
Could be.
Because that
Yeah,
is
that would make most
only
sense.
royals.
Yes.
Oh, wait, no, I'm going with sumptuary laws from Henry VII, VIII, and Elizabeth's time. I don't know the sumptuary laws prior to Henry VII, so maybe duchesses could wear it? But then she's standing behind her.
I think it has to be Margaret, because I can't imagine Cecily standing behind anybody.
No, she'd only stand behind the queen. Yeah, that has to be Margaret of Anjou. There you go. Experts have decided.
That pinched-in midriff thing seems to be the fashion, because
For everybody.
they've all got it, apart from that rather shrinking violet
Weedy
one at the
looking
back.
one on the left.
Yes. How do you keep those hats on? I mean, there's so much weight in them, presumably.
Hat pins. Their hair was up in braids and they had very long, sharp, nasty hat pins going through them. Okay, so the Hesden that they're wearing looks very she's wearing is very bejeweled. It looks almost like it would be cloth of gold as well.
Well, we know that she's not short of a bob or two when it comes to buying her wardrobe, don't we?
No, so it looks like if you were to just look at her head and turn it the other way, so upside down, basically the Hesden looks like a ladybug with its wings opening.
Hang on. Oh. Yeah, no, I can see what you mean. Oh, gosh.
So it's a different type of Hesden than we see even in the Philippa Gregory, the White Queen. It's a bit more wider with the silk coming off the back, white silk coming off the back. It looks like cloth of gold with jewels. Then she's wearing a very, very thick, heavy, jeweled necklace around her neck. I do like the almost off-the-shoulder look of that dress. And she has fur. The white that you're seeing is fur on her. It's not linen. Because the fur folds over a gown. Linen does not. Linen stays on the inside of the gown.
Right.
So that's fur. And then she's got quite the brocaded dress fabric.
I assumed, because I've seen this
Green and
picture
yellow.
before, and I knew it was Cecily Neville, and I sort of assumed, oh, well, that's the Cecily Neville look. But obviously, no, there's a whole group of them all looking pretty much the same. Actually, the faces don't look the same, do they? The faces are very different.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, that's been quite well done. I do love the barrel ceiling in the picture of the group of them.
Oh, yeah.
And they've always got that lovely wallpaper.
Yes, I love that. It's not wallpaper, it's painted.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Painted fresco. But yeah, it really shows you the kind of, I don't
So
know,
sumptuous.
glaring color that they had on the walls. I say glaring color, but it matches your background.
Yes, it does, yes.
If you want to know what Lucy's wallpaper looks like, open up this picture.
I like glaring
No, for
colour.
me, it's just...
I've just read on from what I've written. That person at the front could be Catherine Neville, because this picture might be from the marriage of Catherine Neville.
No,
You don't think so?
not with the ermine.
No.
I'm going to... Yeah, you're possibly right. But... Because I don't know the sumptuary laws, but it's the ermine fur that's making me think that's not it.
Well, if we look at our crest, it was quite difficult to find this because there is a pub called the Neville Crest and Gun. Pie did not look homemade and steak was dry and a bit tough.
Oh!
So it won't be going there. Their crest is a white X-shape cross on a red background. So presumably the shields along the bottom show the Neville crest combined with the crests of the families the ladies have married into. So you can see her crest is the second one in from the left. So it's got hers on the right and his on the left, because his is the Plantagenet one.
Oh, well then the 7th one, we just need to find whose crest is that last one. And why is it a black cross?
No.
If it's a Neville, why does she have a black cross? We just need somebody to find those crest answers.
Unless that's meant to be shadow. I don't go in much for shadows, but... Yeah, so his is... It's got fleur-de-lis and... Well, I think they're probably leopards, in fact, apparently, but they're always referred to as the 3 lions.
Yes. They're called the 3 lions. And they aren't rampant, they are...
Yep.
Oh, there's a term for them standing with one paw up. That's
why we got our dog, because she did that. We saw the picture and she had a little paw up, and we thought, oh. So, yes, perhaps that's what they're doing. Take me home.
It looks very royal to me. The fleur-de-lis from France. And then the 3 lions, and the lions are the English crown.
The one underneath, she looks like a character out of Alice in Wonderland. She looks like the Duchess in the Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, she does, and her Hesden looks like it's scaly.
She's got the crests, she's got the Neville name, she's got the white rose.
Way too many colours. Like in her clothing. She's got green on the head with, I think, gold. And then bright red and gold silk coming off of it. And then a blue gown. And a checkered red and white.
Again, it's
waistband.
The pinch under the breast thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the lips are sort of
Crests
pursed and very red.
Yes.
As if she's disapproving of everything.
Yeah.
And I included, because I thought we might as well, there's a picture of Richard as well, with his ludicrous beard.
Oh, gosh. His head is at a very unnatural angle, too. Like his head is leaning forward from his shoulders, sticking way out, and then turning to the left. Like a lizard.
Yes.
With his little forked beard.
With his little beard.
And his hair looks like it's a mess. It's not flattering at all.
They've got quite a nice face, but the beard doesn't help.
No.
It's not.
He's got very big bags under his eyes.
Yeah, well, he's a busy man. Didn't get much sleep. So, what do we think for
I quite like that we have multiples for her, which is really cool. I love the detail in the clothing.
I love the hat.
Don't see much symbology, though.
Well, we do at the bottom one. We've got the white rose and the shield.
Yes.
I like that picture. It looks like a playing card. I'd like that as to be the queen on my playing cards.
Yes, it does look like a playing card. I'm going to give her an 8.
I think that's fair. I'd go for an 8. She really could do with all the points she could get. She's not doing great.
Yes. And her total altogether is 36.
Oh, not too bad at all.
Still beating quite a few people.
So...
Yes.
Question.
Are they too delicious, or what?
Okay, give me your argument for.
She was completely pivotal in the reigns of 4 kings. The last one less so, because obviously she was on the other side. But she was still grandmother.
Yeah.
She advised several kings.
Yeah.
She helped her husband in France and in Ireland. She didn't just stay at home knitting. She got out there.
Yeah, I like that. She was actively involved all the way through.
And she's a force of nature, I think, really, as well.
Yes. I'm going to say yes.
I felt yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Gosh, that's 2 in a row after none for ages.
Yes. We had lots that were like, I still think it's funny that we thought everybody was going to get it.
Yes.
And we're definitely not even 50%
No,
yeses.
no. No, and I'm glad because I think she does deserve recognition.
Yeah, me too.
And she had a hell of a
job.
life. It was.
Yeah, maybe we can get people to pray for her again.
Yeah,
Put her back on the list.
I'll put her on my list.
Okay.
Not a good it'll do her, but that's what I'll do. Oh, hang on. Next thing is you pick another one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Grab the bag and pick out a new one. We've got Pope Innocent.
Ooh,
Is that the last Pope?
that's the last Pope of this season, yes.
That's the last Pope.
Yes. Now, there are some interesting and quite disturbing stories about him.
Whoa.
Yeah. You can rely on a Pope for disturbing stories, can't you? Okay,
Yes,
good, excellent.
unfortunately.
I do like doing the Popes. They're good fun. Not to live under,
Awesome.
but...
That's the end of our episode. Thank you for listening.
You can find details of the podcast on...
To the riverist on WordPress.com. Email trutheriverus@gmail.com. We're on Podbean and all the usual platforms. Also Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
And the Shakespeare quotes this time are Cecily's curses on Richard in the play Richard III.
Ooh. Thou toad, where is thy brother Clarence? And little Ned? Now I have a special friend. Plantagenet, his son.
Bloody thou art, bloody will be thine end. Shame serves thy life, and doth thy death attend. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You'll never guess what the boy's done now. You'll never believe it, no how. You'll never guess what he said about me. The lies, the slander, the liberties. Now he says his brother's a bastard. Doesn't he see that's a real disaster? What does he think that it says about me? Well, I will learn him, just you see. Because I'm proud, sis. Don't ever mess with me. I'm proud, sis. You'll regret it, yes sirree. You ask me what I'm going to do. I've had some thoughts, let me tell you. Send him to bed without any tea. Give him a taste of reality. Take all his clothes and sell them on eBay. Always forget when it's his birthday. Give him cenopods and lock him in the dark. Feed his cat to a great white shark. Put a horse's head under his duvet. Make him watch art house movies. Post pictures of him when he was a babby, stick them up around Westminster Abbey. Because I am proud, sis, don't ever mess with me. I'm proud, sis, you'll regret it, yes sirree. Shave his eyebrows when he's still asleep, chuck all his shoes on the compost heap, make him listen to REM, whack him with a slipper on his BTM. No, hang on a minute, I could tell everyone he murdered his nephews.